I'm starting a poll. So that should pop up right now on y'all side. Yep. Now it says, did grandma say you got Indian in your family? Yes or no? I know for a fact that probably at least 98% of this chat and those who's watching go click yes. But I'm gonna just see. Let's give it a chance. Let's see. Right now it's at 94. Let's just check. Ain't nothing wrong with checking. Of course, we're gonna have, it's gonna be some people out there that could be hate. You know what I mean? Don't worry about the haters. Let them enjoy the live stream because they'll be learning one way or another. There's a few things we're gonna be getting into, but let's knock this part out first. Sometimes a lot of people have received those conversations from their grandparents, not just grandma, from their grandparents, and didn't think to ask her a few questions so she could elaborate on that. Some of you have. Some of you may have asked questions like, well, how, grandma? How, granddad? How does that work? And then they get into the stories. Well, grandma, my mother, and they'll start getting into it. But it's good to know. It's good to know because I got to be real with y'all. No YouTuber, no TikToker, no social media personality is going to be able to tell you who you are. Can't no U.S. Census tell you who you are. Can't no U.S. government tell you who you are. But guess who can? Your family members, especially the elders of your family. They are going to know. So it's like when you start, for example, if you starting off doing your genealogy research on your family to find out what happened with y'all, it's always best to start with you first and then go up. Your mother and father, their mother and father, their mother fathers, because it's going to be multiplied by 4. But make sure that you talking to the elders. They may have some input on what took place in the past. I'm talking about prior to the 1950s also. Like if you blessed with those elders that are, up in age, 80s, 90s, just have conversations with them and see what happens. See what they say. They may even have some pictures. You want to become a researcher at that point of your own family. And you know what's beautiful about that? You could put a portfolio together. You could include pictures. But these stories can be passed down to the children, the younger generations of each family. Now, there are going to be people out there that's going to see that the majority of their ancestors, see, when you do this, hold on, let me give a fair warning here. When you do your genealogy, there's going to be some people out there that will say that, you guys were slaves because of the slave trade story, et cetera, et cetera. But when you do your genealogy and you don't find no record, listen, you don't find no record indicating that your family, any family member came off of a boat. Keep in mind, these records exist. Disembark and embark. These records exist right now. You can look at these microfilms. Anybody that came off a boat was documented. Anybody that came off a boat was documented. So if your family came off of a boat, you will find that, number one. Number two, if your ancestors worked for somebody. Now, this is the tricky part, right? The tricky part is you're going to think that they were forced into that by way of their master. You know how the story goes, their master buying them on an auction block. But this is what I'm going to get into. A lot of you need to understand that some of them were forced in a different way, meaning that they had to make a living for themselves. Like right now, if you don't work, you don't eat right now. It's the same thing. I'm talking about as it is right now. It was the same thing back then. And it doesn't matter your skin complexion. Everybody out here got to work now. Everybody out there had to work back then. 2 things that you got to remember. If your ancestors were enslaved, you need to be, 1, looking for an indenture. You need to be looking for paperwork, a contract, stating how long they had to work for that individual employer. They're going to call them slave master, because it could range from 4 to 7 years, 7 to 12 years, 12 to 21, or it could depend on what age they are. They could go up to 18 years old. They could go up to 21 years old, depending on the situation and what type of debt they put themselves into. Like, for example, the agreement that they may have came up with an individual. I'm not saying this is for everybody. I'm just saying you may find this. The agreement that they came up with the employer was, hey, if you work for that employer for X amount of years, let's say about until you turn 25 and the children turn 18, you're guaranteed X amount of land, okay? You're guaranteed X amount of land and X amount of sources, or resources rather. But only if this obligation or this contract of servitude has been fulfilled. Once it expires, you gained whatever they promised within that contract. This is what you need to see. You need to be checking for not only indentures, you need to be checking for those promissory notes. Those promissory notes drifted on through time and became what we see right now as Federal Reserve notes, the dollar bills, because those were technically promissory notes. But think about it, like you're making them a promise. You're writing it down, like how they do affidavits and stuff like that. You got to go, I'm talking about nowadays. You got to go get it notarized by a notary. And okay, back then, promissory notes. It was promissory notes. And how to get it stamped or notarized, they went to the post office. Remember we talked about this before? I was telling you guys how the post office was so important back then. This is one of the reasons why. Because the notary was there. A lot of the transactions that happened, the post office knew about. Keep in mind, the post office was a separate entity from the U.S. government since the day it started. The post office was always for the people and the businesses that resided in each county. It was recent that they just became an entity of the U.S. government. But that's how long it's been. I'm talking about the post office, United States Post Office. Like you would think that they were a government entity, but technically they were a union. So when you do your research and you, on top of that, the paperwork is going to verify what your grandmother or your grandfather are saying. You need that. The reason why I'm bringing all of this up is because I'm seeing a lot of people are doing that. And I have to, even though I may be regurgitating the same message in a different way, I have to do it because we have so many people that are stuck on silly, okay, because they don't understand that they were being taught a lie when it comes to their individualized history and then making it deemed American history. When my wife and I have been debunking left and freaking right, any angle that you would choose, any angle, all the way down from Afro-American studies to the black and white status. And now remember, I know I'm gonna have to do this in a different live stream. I know a lot of people were kind of shooken up when I put out that video on Frederick Douglass. And I'm not gonna get into it, but I'm gonna just say this. But it's a lot of people that they put out in the forefront for us during a so-called Black History Month, which was the shortest month in the year, as a prominent individual for us to continuously learn about as we were young in school, because our parents and our grandparents ain't know who these people were. But we had to learn and bring these stories back to our parents and grandparents, like, hey, granddad, you know who Frederick Douglass is? You know what? Dang, that sounds familiar, but I don't recall who that the elders don't know who these people are. Well, why do they have to be promoted as prominent individuals as if they made actual changes for everybody's life? When you look at their stories, the only actual changes that they made is something dealing with their own personal life. I mean, which is fine. They made their own accomplishments in life. I mean, but you made it seem like they did something astronomical and changed the whole game around for us, when actually it got worse. And the people that you put up in the forefront progressed it to get that worse for us. I showed you I'm not going to get it. I told myself I'm not going to get into that video, but I showed you at the beginning of that video how that young boy walked up to Frederick Douglass and said, I mean, you did all this. I'm summarizing it now, paraphrasing. You did all this, Frederick Douglass, allegedly. And we are in a worse position than we were in before that, during his time. Why is that? And everything cool just because you in your mansion and you got your maid, your coachman, and your white wife and everything straight? No more activist work, no more? That's it. See, and this is the thing. I'm gonna put together a series to explain to you guys what their agendas were. I'm probably going to have to do it the way I did Frederick Douglass one so you can see. And it's similar to Harriet Tubman, but the only difference is that Frederick Douglass was real. Harriet Tubman wasn't. And I saw people in the comments saying that I said Frederick Douglass wasn't real. I said Nat Turner wasn't real. Nat Turner and Harriet Tubman are both fictional characters. But keep in mind, that's another set group of prominent individuals they'll put out to you in the forefront with a whole bunch of stories and it ain't lining up. Well, I mean, but Harriet Tubman got ancestry. No, she don't. No, she don't. If that was the case, every single thing that got put out for Harriet Tubman, all of that money should have reverted back right to her family members. And I dare you to tell me her family members. Because where the money is going back to Sarah Bradford and the lawyer that she hired. But she already moved back to Geneva. So that's where the money going. Every time you put out something on Harriet Tubman. I don't care how many foundations were created with utilizing her name. Look at Umar Johnson. Ain't he using Frederick Douglass, Marcus Garvey? He using their name. That don't mean that they were a part of it. You're only going to latch on to people that they put out in the forefront because they made them popular. That's it. It's not because they did anything for you individually. What did Marcus Garvey do for us? Seriously, what did Harriet Tubman do for us? What did these people do? The only person that I can see that actually tried was Malcolm X. Martin Luther King did all of what he was told to do by somebody else now, not for our people's benefit, but for somebody else's benefit. And it hurt our people. And 3 years before his assassination is when he switched up. And they let him live just long enough to get his cries out, and they got rid of him and replaced him with somebody else. Once they felt as though Malcolm X was about to make a change for our people, keep in mind, Malcolm X was the only one that was putting together the people that he felt as though were going to be working for our benefit. Him and Martin Luther King was about to do something major. And a couple of other people. They were not going for, I know some people going to be like, well, they were going for nationality. It was bigger than that. They had to shoot down Malcolm X for that reason. That was at the time that Martin Luther King was like, nah, this government messing up. I mean, they said it was going to do this for us. After I done told them we going to do this and we going to do that. I done made the people Democrats. That's what they wanted me to do. And they still not doing nothing for us. And keep in mind, Malcolm X was against that. Don't forget that. He told you what the Dixiecrats was all about. But they still came together. See? That's the key. They still came together. And when they came together, that's when the government was like, oh, shit. No, hell no. We got to stop that. And we ain't have nobody else since. Everybody else that they put out in the forefront for us is doing something else with their life. They're not dedicated to changing our people's lives. Like, that's their number one agenda. That's their number one goal. That's what they got on their mind 24/7. We don't have people like that no more. Like, as far as in the forefront. Because now you got social media. Anybody could be a leader. That's how they got it set up. You don't think this was done by design? No, Dane, everybody's mixed now. It's not a black and white thing. It wasn't a black and white thing until they made it that way. And keep in mind, what's still layering on is the black and white thing. But you think it had to do with your skin complexion. That's the mistake. And they're one of them leaders. Well, I take that back. Some of them did talk about status, but not in this manner. Not in a manner where you can understand that the status that you are putting yourself in by checking off that you're black is working against you. It's only very few people going to come out and state that. The rest of the people are going to run with it. The black man this and the black woman that. And they running with it. Whole time you bringing us down. If you want positive change, stop with these terms that we did not come up with. Well, the general census of the whole entire spectrum of the community is saying that we should be called black. No, we did not agree to that. We did not agree to any of these terms, including Indian. This is how you know they was talking about us when they said Indian, because how come ain't nobody else get called that but us? It didn't go from Indian to Native American by paperwork. It went from Indian to colored to Negro to black, African American. Oh, mulatto in there too. But I'm just saying, Ain't nobody else. This is how you know they were talking about us. All these other pale faces is mad, getting mad on TikTok, ain't got nothing to do with us. If you for us, be about us. And some of them, I didn't call some of them that's claiming that they Afro-Indigenous. I didn't call some of them talking about some, well, I'm Afro-Indigenous. I've been this way all my life. Okay, you talking about you. But those that were lied to, why you getting mad at me for teaching the people that they have been lied to about who they are? Just because you know who you are, don't knock me for telling other people that they were lied to about who they are. Wouldn't you want your brothers and sisters to know who they are? Afro-Indigenous. So you ain't wearing Afro since the 60s. So you settling to be called a misnomer from somebody that ain't even from here. That's because a lot of our people's self-esteem is shot. I'm talking about shot. The men, some of the men ain't got no set of balls. The women, them titties ain't shaking. Listen, the reason why I'm saying that is because you gotta grow, some changes gotta be made. And all those people that's, settled in and, oh, okay, well, we in our tribe now, it ain't over. It's not over. Just because you settled down and said, okay, I'd much rather be recognized by the federal government, carry a ID that says I'm a member of Food Lion and Costco's and Best Buy. What? And you think that's your family? We didn't have nations when our families resided in America prior to these foreigners' arrival. We didn't have to carry around ID cards. Ain't none of that shit indigenous to this land. So just because you carrying a card don't make you better than anybody else. Nigga, you steal laws. I seen them, and they treating other people wrong online because they felt as though they got some type of leverage because they carrying an ID. That don't mean shit. Really. Stop playing. They got control over their own government. And guess who got control over their government? The federal government. Their control is obsolete. What are you talking about? They allowing you to do that. Like, what? Your enemy said, well, let them feel good about themselves by having their own government. That's not solving the thing, is it? You right back to square one. The whole point is that you being governed, you being controlled by a foreign entity. And then you got the nerve to call your nation a family. And y'all not working together. Because if your nation was a family, then why I gotta have a board of people to dictate what goes on within that nation? That don't sound like a family. That sound like a business to me. That sound like a corporation to me. You ain't nothing but another corporation. And the federal government still got its finger on your nose and its foot on your neck. So don't go out there acting like you better than somebody else because you card carrying. Don't be beating people up in the comments or other people's videos. Don't do that. You in the same predicament as they in. You ain't nobody. And you ain't no better than anybody. You ain't got no type of rank. You ain't no type of war chief here. None. And don't call yourself a warrior when you still pinned down by the federal government and ain't making no noise. But yeah, and this is another reason why it's very important for you all to go ask grandma. Go ask her. Go ask her. Because you gotta know that a lot of what I've been stating is the truth. Because why in the world are we being attacked by people that look like you and I? One. Two, folks that's foreigners that's calling themselves natives to this land. Three, other foreigners that's want to fit in with us. Because this is the biggest deal right here. You're going to notice that everybody that was promoting the black this, black that going to switch up. I've been saying this. They're going to switch up. But this is not no cult, no covert, no none of that. This ain't none of that. It's about the truth. But watch them though, because if they ain't talking about their own individual family, then they got their own agenda. Most of it could be for monetary gain. They see that it's a meal ticket. So they going, hop on the newest trend. That's what they've been doing. And it's not about you saying that you Indian just to make you feel good. It's about you knowing who your people are and representing it.